Clone Wars Episode 2, Season 7 dropped out this morning, and I think I liked it more than last week, honestly. This is going to have spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it and come back. So let's get right into it. The first big thing to happen in this episode is it's very clear that Anakin told Rex about him and Padme. They're about to leave for a mission, and Anakin looks over at Rex and says, hey, like, we have to do the thing. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know, the thing. And then he's like, oh, yeah. So he guards the door while Anakin talks to Padme. Just the fact that Anakin told the clone, I think that really says something about the relationship he has with Rex. It shows he's been through much with him throughout the war, and the level of trust he has for him is through the roof. And I think it's really nice that he would share that kind of private and precious information with him when he didn't even share it with Obi-Wan, you know, his master. And I know it's because it's kind of hard to tell another Jedi about your attachment, which you're not supposed to have, but you would think that if Anakin was going to tell anybody, it would be Obi-Wan. I think the scene between Padme and Anakin was my favorite of this week. The relationship in the show works a lot more in the show than it does the movies. I genuinely can tell that these two characters care and have genuine feelings for one another, whereas in the movies, it's very creepy, it's very awkward, and it's very cringy. And then Obi-Wan kind of walks up to the whole thing, and he's like, what's going on in there? And there's a little, funny bit of Rex and Anakin baking up a lie. Obi-Wan knows as they're walking away. He's trying to tell them something, and I wonder what that was. I wonder if it's anything important. But he says, I hope you said hello to Padme for me. And then Anakin gives him a little look. So I'm under the impression that Obi-Wan knows, even if he hasn't been explicitly told. He's not an idiot. When Ahsoka left the Jedi Order, as she was saying goodbye to Anakin, she heavily implied, well, no, she didn't imply. She basically said, I know about Padme. So if Ahsoka can figure it out, then I assume that Obi-Wan could too. And as far as where this takes place, we see it's the hologram call from the trailer where she's pregnant, which means as far as the timeline goes, again, it's not confirmed, but this is my guess. This takes place after the beginning battle of Revenge of the Sith. So Padme gets pregnant, and then it seems like when she finds that out, that Anakin is away off doing whatever. And then when he gets back in the movie from the space battle, I'm going to guess it's maybe been, and this is just my educated guess, I'm going to guess it's been at least a few weeks, maybe a month or two. He's off doing War Jedi stuff, and he hasn't seen her in a while. So, and she wanted to tell him in person, so that's why she waited. If you think about it that way, that means that from the point in Revenge of the Sith where she tells him to the end of that movie, there's probably at least 6 months, at least 6 or 7 months. Because at the end of the movie, she gives birth. So during the movie, most of a pregnancy has taken place. I'm not going to say the whole full 9 months because she's already pregnant when Anakin gets back, but I would say most of it. So there's a lot of time there. There's a lot of stuff that happens in 7 months. And obviously this arc and probably the rest of the season is taking place during that time span. And it's cool to see Rex showing similar tendencies to what Anakin does. Rex isn't normally one to act headstrong, but he's acting on emotion here because, Echo was very close to him. And now that, he's seen so many of his brothers die, and now that one of them is potentially back, he's just running high on that emotion. And that's making him do and say things that he normally wouldn't say. But he loses his cool. He goes after one of the members of the Bad Batch, and Anakin has to break it up. And Anakin says, listen, man, I get it, but you got to stay with me here. And it's cool to see them share that similar emotion. And it makes sense. That's part of the reason why they're so close, is because they can get too invested in their emotions. That's a similarity that they have personality-wise. Padme even says, when Anakin's talking to her on the call, he says, I'm worried about Rex. He's acting on his emotions. And Padme literally says, I wonder where he gets it from, referring to Anakin. So I thought that was really cool. So they get to, and they're going through this place. The action continued to be really good. Something that I just kind of accept is that every bad guy just sucks at aiming. There's so many instances where I'm like, they should all be dead, or Anakin should have gotten shot, or all of them should have gotten shot. That's just kind of a thing in Star Wars, and I'm not really nitpicky like that, so that I don't really care. It's just a thing that I couldn't help but notice, especially in this episode. There's a scene where Anakin is stuck in a hallway, and he is surrounded, or there's droids on either side of him. He can only look in one direction, and you would think if both of them shoot at the same time, he physically can't block all of the blaster fire. Um, but of course he does, and he survives. Again, I don't really care, and I'm not nitpicky like that, but I just think that stuff's kind of funny. So I figured this episode was gonna end with them finding Echo, and I didn't think we would get much more than that, although I really wanted it. I want to see where this arc continues to go, but when we finally do get to see Echo, he's in this kind of, it looks like they're freezing him, some kind of ice chamber, and he's all hooked up. He's got wires in his upper body and his head. I don't want to say he looked like Palpatine from Rise of Skywalker, but in terms of all the wires, like, he kinda did. Anyways, you can see the PTSD in his face. His eyes are all twitchy, which I think is from the wire stuff. But the first thing he says when he kind of snaps out of it is he thinks he's back where he died. He thinks he's back at the Citadel. He says, "We have to get to the ship." And if you remember, he dies. He says those exact words. He's trying to get to the ship to destroy a couple of turrets that are shooting at them, and he runs up and the ship explodes and he dies. But those are the first things he says, and then he experiences that again. He's yelling, "No, no, no," and then he acts as if he was just caught in another explosion. I thought it was really powerful to see Rex react to that kind of thing, similar to the first episode when he reacted to finding out he was alive. Actually seeing him alive and seeing him in that condition, you can really see the way it had an impact on Rex. And just in general, I want to talk about the animation for a second because I really noticed it in this episode. It is so, so beautiful, and it is so crazy. The way the show started out compared to where they are now, the things that they can do that they couldn't before. They are able to animate so many more emotions via movements and facial expressions. And it's really awesome. I really noticed it with Anakin's character in particular. I don't know why, but with him, I definitely noticed, the animation is really upping the quality of some of the more emotional moments of the show. So yeah, I thought this was another great episode. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see how Obi-Wan and Mace Windu play a role in this because they're both there, so I assume they're going to play some kind of role in the arc in maybe next week's episode. But yeah, what are your thoughts or theories? Did you like this week? Comment below, let me know. As always, like and subscribe. And yeah,